Hey guys, I thought I'd kind of give a little insight into this fraction page you have for today, especially at the bottom. But what I would encourage you to do is, instead of understanding what a fraction is and how to compare them and get the least common denominator, this is more of a chance for kids to play with the different fractions. So I encourage you to get 3 pieces of paper, 3 note cards, something that are the same size, and this will be your whole. And then I encourage you to cut them into halves, fourths, and eighths. So what I did is I just cut them through the middle. I actually made 2 sets. So there I have 1/2 and 1/2. Then take your blue ones and cut them, or not your blue ones, you take another piece of paper or note card and cut them into fourths. And then take another one and cut them into eighths. That way you have something that they can manipulate with, since we can't get you fraction blocks. But like I said, the whole idea of this is to play with it, so they can start to see what's bigger, what's smaller, and how they can possibly be the same. So what you want to do in the first part up here is you just want to lay out a half and a fourth. So I would say, okay, here's a half and here's a fourth. And I would say, well, when you compare them, which one is bigger, which one is smaller? Well, since half is bigger, you would want to draw the alligator mouth to eat the half. So on here, I would want to draw my alligator mouth in between them. And the same thing for the rest of these. You would want to lay out, like for this one example, 1/4 and 3/8. So I want to put 1/4 and 3/8. Now, if it looks like, oh, I can't really tell, they're kind of close, then stack them, compare them. And they should notice that 2/8 makes the same as 1/4, and this one has some leftover. So that means the alligator wants to eat the 3/8, which means 1/4 is less than 3/8. Then for down here, I would just put them together and then compare to see what it would match up with. So for 1/4 plus 1/4, I would put out a 1/4, and I'd put out plus a 1/4, and then I would just play around and see, what is it the same as? Is it the same as 1/8? Nope. Is it the same as 2/8? Nope. Is it the same? Looks like I need 2 more. So it could be the same as 4/8. It could also be the same as 1/2. So you could use any of those answers, because we know the further they get in learning about fractions and comparing them and adding them, that you got to find a least common denominator. So we're not there yet, but this is just a chance for them to play with it. So then another one, let's skip around. Let's go to 2/8 and 1/4. So I want to put out my 2/8. Okay, and then my 1/4. And they might be like, I can't tell, I want to compare them. Well, when you stack them, you can see that they are the same. So you could see that if you were comparing them, you would have equal. But since we're adding them, if you put them together, you think, what could that be the same as? Well, it could be 2 of those. So I could say 2/4. What else could it be the same as? Oh, it could be the same as that. Let's see, is it the same as the whole thing? Nope, not the same. So just play around with it. If you have any questions, let me know. But the way that I made these is I folded them in half this way. And I actually, as you can see, I just made a second set. I just split it in half, and then I cut it this way. And then for the halves, I folded it this way, and then I cut it in half. Then for fourths, I did the same thing. I cut it across here, then I folded it in the middle, and then I took each of those. So once it looked like this, I cut it in half, then I folded it here, each one, and made fourths. Then for the eighths, I did the same thing. I cut it this way, I folded them and cut them in halves, then I folded them and made fourths, and then just take each fourth piece, and you could fold it and cut it that way, or you can just cut it into fourths. So any questions, let me know.